The Mesopotamian gods exist from a polytheistic religion that worships them as manifestations of the forces of nature. This worship also varies between territories, with the same gods being renowned for different attributes. Furthermore, it is said that the Mesopotamian gods are not born from the planet, but rather the vastness of space, existing as alien entities that came to Earth on a meteor, transforming indigenous creatures into gods. Among these gods is the goddess Iana, meaning the mistress of heaven, known outside Sumeria as Ishtar. She is the daughter of the sky god Anu. Various anecdotes credit her as being a goddess of Venus, beauty, bountiful harvests, fertility, lust, and discord, bestowed with powers derived from the Earth Mother. She is beautiful, a goddess loved by her peers, pampered and given gifts in abundance. Her desires are fairly transparent. She loves beautiful things while hating what is ugly. If there is something she desires, she claims it recklessly. She has a sister, one who is the polar opposite. While Ishtar is the goddess of heaven, her sister, Ereshkigal, is humble, assigned to preside over the underworld, expecting nothing in return. Tragically, Ereshkigal cannot leave the confines of the underworld, so the two sisters rarely interact. On the surface, Ishtar thrives as a whimsical goddess, free and unrestrained. She connects with plentiful lovers, both human and divine, while forcing harsh cruelty onto those who refuse to bow to her will. This is because she considers herself a goddess of justice. Yes, she embodies aspects of various other goddesses. Sometimes, she serves as a benevolent, maternal figure, protecting the sanctity of marriage, sexual intimacy, and reproduction. Other times, she enacts war and conjures storms. Regardless, Ishtar remains a spoiled goddess who receives gifts and demands worship. While Ishtar is polyamorous, she does marry another, the god of shepherds, Tammuz. In addition to her courtship, she has a sukal, a personal attendant, the goddess Ninshubur. Even with these, Ishtar's lust for worship is not sated. One of her anecdotes details how the god Enki, in a drunken stupor, gives up all of his divinity to her. Upon sobering up, he notices he has none left, while watching Ishtar busily gathering his treasures, including the mess, the representation of civilization's positivity and negativity, to take with her to the human world. She flees Enki's domain, while riding upon her divine bow, Ma'ana, the boat of heaven, a fast, flying airship. She nearly succeeds in escaping, foiled only by the stalling of the boat's engine. Other anecdotes credit her with taking over the Eanna Temple. Arguably, the most atrocious deed of Ishtar's regards the sentient mountain, Ebi. The mountain is filled with lavish treasures and possesses enough destructive might to strike fear into her fellow gods. Ishtar's father, Anu, warns her to stay away from the mountains. But of course, this only sparks her anger and ambition. Instead of heeding Anu's words, she charges the mountain as it rages with storms. Stepping upon the mountain, she is attacked by swarms of monsters and erupting volcanoes. Ebi throws everything it can at her, including poisonous fog, falling stones, and scalding lava. Because these assaults come one after another, Ishtar is able to succeed. At the very top, she takes a spear and thrusts it into the heart of the mountain's ley line, causing it to collapse. This, above all else, is when Ishtar earns her fame as a war goddess. Her impulsive conquering does not cease. Rather, she focuses herself upon the underworld, the domain of her sister. Irkalla, the Mesopotamian underworld, is like a house where those who enter cannot leave. The dead maintain their human form, yet are pale and exhausted, forced to feed upon dust and clay. It is a dreary place, and yet Ereshkigal presides over it willingly at the expense of never leaving. In her whimsy, Ishtar wishes to taunt her sister by going to its depths and commanding Ereshkigal to forego her duties and instead venture to the surface and play. In preparation, Ishtar confers with her handmaiden, Ninshubur. In the event that Ishtar does not return, Ninshubur is to dress in mourning attire and visit the various temples of gods that may help her. Before heading out, Ishtar adorns herself with her 7 greatest treasures, including jewelry and makeup. She dresses beautifully to enhance her own power as a goddess. Ereshkigal hears of Ishtar's adornment and devises a plan to strip her of her power. To reach her sister, Ishtar must pass through 7 of the underworld's gates. To progress, she is forced to remove an article of clothing at each one. Thus, when Ishtar finally arrives before her sister, she is completely naked and vulnerable. No mercy is granted. Taking this act as an assault, Ereshkigal continuously stabs her sister, causing her death and consequential sealing in the underworld. 3 days and nights pass, during which all sexual intimacy and fertility on Earth ceases. During this time, Ninshubur does as instructed, pleading to the gods Enlil, Nana, An, and Enki to come to Ishtar's aid, but is denied by all but the latter. Enki, still as infatuated with Ishtar as ever, worries for her well-being and decides to dispatch a pair of demons to negotiate with the underworld's goddess. While they are able to appease Ereshkigal and revive Ishtar with the food and water of life, another problem remains. No one can come back from the underworld unmarked. Rather, once one dies and is taken to the underworld, a place is forever made for them. In order to leave that place, someone else must fill it. Ishtar must, in exchange for leaving the underworld intact, find someone from the upper world to replace her. Ishtar first visits her handmaiden's family. Seeing that they are all stricken with grief over Ishtar's death, the goddess decides to spare them. When she comes upon her own husband, Tammuz, however, she finds him relaxing comfortably in her absence. Upset by her husband's lack of faith, Ishtar instructs the demons to take her husband to remain in the underworld. While he is initially expected to remain there forever, Ishtar later has a change of heart and permits his sister, Geshtinana, to fill the space for 12 months in the year. In Mesopotamian religion, this results in the cycle of the seasons. Ishtar's descent into and subsequent rise from the underworld is iconic of her connection to the planet Venus. In pursuit of a new lover, Ishtar bears witness from the heavens as Gilgamesh and his friend, Enkidu, defeat the monster Humbaba in the cedar forest. Impressed by his bravery, Ishtar descends upon Gilgamesh and requests he be her lover. Gilgamesh, however, already knows of Ishtar's promiscuity and flatly rejects her proposal. In an embarrassed rage, she flees to her father Anu and requests permission to send down another of her divine gifts, Gugalana, the Bull of Heaven. She unleashes the bull on the kingdom of Uruk, causing catastrophic devastation in its wake. Ultimately, Gilgamesh and Enkidu once again prevail, binding the beast by its legs and severing it in two. To further insult the goddess, they sling the bull's remaining hide back at her. In an outrage, she demands that they be executed for their deeds, and a verdict is made. With the snap of a finger, Anu ends Enkidu's life, causing him to crumble back into the mud he was born from. A common theme in Ishtar's anecdotes is that those who earn her vitriol inevitably suffer. These anecdotes are found written in stone and go down in legend even after the fall of the Age of Gods. In the modern era, as humanity faces its incineration, a distorted singularity of Babylonia emerges, and Chaldea sends its only master, Ritsuka Fujimaru, to obtain the Singularity's Grail and restore it to normal. In this alternate world, the kingdom of Uruk, ruled by Gilgamesh, faces assault from divine forces, primarily the Gorgon. While Gilgamesh is busy releasing his treasures to construct a defensive wall, Uruk's elder priestess attempts to seek aid by summoning Ishtar as a heroic spirit. This, by itself, is an impossible feat, as gods are too powerful to be confined as heroic spirits. The only way for Ishtar to take such a form, then, is to possess the body of a mortal, limiting her strength in the process. That said, Ishtar will not accept an incompatible vessel, one that is unworthy of her beauty and might, so the Grail pulls from a separate timeline to procure none other than the talented mage, Rin Tosaka. In the form of a pseudo-servant, Ishtar is able to reach the Babylonian singularity as an archer-class heroic spirit. Of course, since Ishtar is the goddess of heaven, and Ereshkigal is the goddess of the underworld, both sisters are summoned simultaneously, their divinity inextricably linked as polar opposites. While Ishtar sleeps, Ereshkigal awakens in her body, though her true form remains in the underworld. At first, it appears that Ishtar has no intention of saving Uruk, instead forming a non-aggression pact with Gorgon and the southern servant, Quetzalcoatl. Unlike other pseudo-servants, rather than simply possessing Rin, both Rin and Ishtar's personalities merge to an extent. While Ishtar is famed for both her compassion and cruelty, Rin's presence curbs her nature toward the benevolent side. The key difference between them is Rin's patience and solid work ethic, which takes precedence at times over Ishtar's spoiled, childlike behavior. Ishtar does not try to restrain Rin's humanity, instead accepting that her current state simply is the new Ishtar. Shortly after arriving in Babylonia, Ritsuka's party spots something flying toward them. Ishtar appears, soaring down from the heavens on her boat, and crashes into Ritsuka. She falls upon the master and is accidentally groped as they regain awareness. Ishtar, upset from her humiliation, but also worried that her father Anu might discover her poor driving, angrily confronts the Chaldean party. They resolve their dilemma, with Ishtar even helping in battle, before she storms off. They meet again, as Ishtar assaults Gilgamesh's domain. Apparently, these raids are a common occurrence, not only against Gilgamesh, but also Uruk's villagers, blasting holes in their farms. Most see this as a devilish act, yet Ishtar claims it is to help the people. Conveniently, her attacks on the farms happen to be warding off monsters. This is discovered when Ritsuka's party manages to capture and interrogate her. Realizing her intentions, Ritsuka sets her free. Gilgamesh, left with few ways to defeat the Gorgon, implores Ritsuka to enter into a master-servant pact with Ishtar, not for the goddess herself, but for her destructive Bull of Heaven. They travel to her temple, and she confronts them in battle. While Ritsuka is unable to defeat Ishtar, Gilgamesh sends them to her with a secret plan, to bribe her with gems from his treasury. Of all the times Ishtar was spoiled by her fellow gods, she never once received gems as a gift, and has developed an obsession for them. Of course, this obsession with gems is further influenced by Rin. Gilgamesh gives Mashu a bag full of his greatest gem-imbued treasures, which Ishtar immediately drools over. After some negotiation, Ishtar agrees to be Ritsuka's servant, only if Ritsuka bows down and kisses the back of her foot, much to Mashu's surprise. In battle, Ishtar continues to ride atop her bow, the Boat of Heaven, Mana. In addition to firing arrows, it serves as a gate connecting Earth and Venus. Likely due to Rin's influence, Ishtar is only able to gather magical energy into jewels. Her primary noble phantasm is Angal Takigalshe, mountain range shaking firewood of Venus. Through it, she is able to warp to the Venus of her time and load its concept into her bow's next shot, sending it down to Earth as a deadly bullet. This is an embodiment of the destructive force she used to collapse Mount Ebi. While she doesn't get the chance to use it properly, her other noble phantasm is Gugulana Strike, Bull of Heaven. If used, it will allow Ishtar to temporarily summon the divine beast that ravaged Uruk. It descends from on high, pulverizing the ground with its massive hooves. Saving the Gorgon for last, Ritsuka's party confronts and defeats Quetzalcoatl, recruiting her as another powerful servant. When they return to Uruk, they discover that Gilgamesh has died, taken to the underworld as a result of Ereshkigal's awakening within Ishtar. To Ishtar's dismay, Ritsuka takes her and the party into the underworld to rescue Gilgamesh. At its core, they defeat Ereshkigal, and she insists they kill her for her evil intentions. Ritsuka refuses, claiming that Ereshkigal isn't inherently evil. Eventually, she agrees to assist in the battle against Gorgon. In a devastating twist, it is revealed that Gorgon is only serving as a false goddess for a more dangerous threat, Tiamat. All of Ritska's gathered allies team up to conquer this massive foe. The surviving humans of the Singularity fight against Tiamat and the swarm of demonic beasts unleashed from a chaos tide in its wake. In their moment of need, Gilgamesh asks Ishtar to release Gugalana, only to find out that she lost track of it somewhere along the way. It has effectively escaped from the Singularity entirely. With Ishtar's greatest asset lost to them, they are forced to rethink their strategy. To redeem herself in the final battle against Tiamat, Ishtar manages to destroy Uruk's foundation, plunging the beast into the underworld, where Ereshkigal can assault it. Sadly, this only forces Tiamat to reveal its true form. Regardless, this combined effort between the sisters serves as a critical move in ultimately destroying Tiamat's spiritual core. In the aftermath, Ishtar continues to serve as a Chaldean servant under Ritska, offering her power in exchange for teasing the poor master. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe to OtakuDaiKun for more anime lists, reviews, discussions, lore videos, live streams, and the Holy Waifu Wars. If you're interested in seeing this channel grow, please consider becoming a patron or donating in a super chat during any of my weekly live streams. Also, feel free to check the description for my social media profiles, including an ever-growing Discord full of fans of anime and the Fate series. Until next time, celebrate your fandom!